Hi everybody, my name is Jenny. This channel is called Senior Perspective. I'm glad you're here. Let's talk about Vanderpump Rules, Episode 2. Alright, this one opens up in Ariana's room, which is in worse condition than it was in Episode 1. I don't understand. I'm just going to let it go. My OCD, anxiety, need to declutter is heightened when I see her room.
You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I wanna burn all the bridges between us.
Oh my God.
It just seems to me that when you live a life that has a lot of chaos in it, that the things you can control, if you do, that it'll give you more of a sense of power rather than to live amongst chaos too. Does that make sense? That's where I'm coming from anyway. All right, let's go on. Sandoval is at home. His assistant Anne is there, who is so sweet. What a nice lady she is.
What's up, Anne?
Good morning.
Morning.
How was New Zealand?
Such a grueling experience.
He mentions to her that he's getting together with Schwartz, going to give him some of his favorite shoes. That is such a Sandoval thing to do. Over all the years, we see him constantly buying gifts for everyone else. But it doesn't appear that he does it in terms of this is his love language and he just loves gift giving. There always seems to be a catch with it. It always seems to be like he's buying your love and he's buying your, and I don't know exactly why, and I don't have some really good data to back me up, but that's definitely my feeling behind it, and I just don't have time to do all the research and look back at the previous episodes, but this is a classic example of it. They're not getting along, so what does he do? He buys him his favorite pair of shoes so that Schwartz will go, oh, thank you, and warm up right away. I mean, it's kind of a brilliant mastermind move, but certainly not one from the heart. It has selfish intentions. Anne points out, you haven't gotten together with him for a long time, which I found odd because he was doing that Special Forces show and he was in New Zealand. So obviously they haven't gotten together for a long time, but maybe even before that, even before that, yeah, there was a lot of drama going on at that point. So he tells Anne, no, we're fine. And she's like, is everything okay between you? He goes, yeah, we're fine. And then in his talking head, he's like, things are really bad between me and Schwartz. It just shows what a liar he is. They just showed the dichotomy of like, I'm going to say this to this person, but then when I'm talking to you, I'm going to tell you something else, which is really the truth. And that's like, we're not really getting along.
You guys okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
Things are very much not okay between Schwartz and I.
I mean, we obviously knew he was a liar, unfaithful, untruthful, not just based on this Sandoval situation, but a lot of things in the past. But it's just another way of showing it side by side right next to each other. So brilliant editing on your part. Bravo. It's not Bravo, whatever the production company is. Sandoval is talking in his talking head about how he feels betrayed by Schwartz because Schwartz went on Jackson Brittany's podcast. And while he was on there, he was saying that he was upset with Sandoval because he's just living out his punk rock star dreams and he's not around and he's not helping out during all of this. And of course, now he's also on this show. So that hurt Sandoval, who can't take accountability for anything ever. I thought it was interesting because Sandoval said, I feel betrayed by my friend.
Oh, cry me a river.
Because he spoke the truth. And he's used to Schwartz just doing whatever he wants. I mean, he got Schwartz to lie and not say anything about the affair. Like, he is not used to him telling his truth or sharing what he really feels. He is used to being able to completely control Schwartz, like a little remote control car. Sandoval points out, he says, oh, tomorrow's my birthday. And Anne's like, oh yeah, happy birthday. And he said, good. He goes, I think I want to have some people over for my birthday. And Anne goes, Anne is the go-between between him and Ariana because Tom and Ariana don't communicate or talk to each other. So they have to go through Tom's assistant. Poor Anne. And then Tom Sandoval says, well, Ariana's obviously invited if she wants to come. 3 months ago, she found out that you were having an affair for 7 months with her best friend. Yeah, she wants to go to your birthday party. Come on. It's just him trying to look good for the cameras. oh, I'm going to extend the olive branch. And when she denies it, she's the bad person. I mean, I tried. She told her she could come. I don't think any of your friends are going to come that you're used to having. Certainly not Ariana. All right. He then says to Anne, and I didn't mind this as much as Ariana did. She came from a different perspective. But he said, because I'd like to have it here at the home, I would be willing to get a very nice hotel room for Ariana for the night. Now, if I were Ariana, especially because later on in the episode, she said it's getting very expensive every time Dan comes to visit her from New York, that they have to get a hotel room, I would say, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm actually going to be home, but I'm not going to complain, and you can have your people party as late or as long as you want. I will be in my room. I will not bother you. I will not come downstairs. Have your party. But I'm taking you up on that hotel room, and I'll tell you when I want to cash it in. And this is where I want to go. That's what she should have done. But
I guess I'll come out with you.
She's so cute.
So Tom wants to have a birthday party here tomorrow. And he said that he could get you like a very nice hotel room.
But she shot from the hip and just said, no, it's my house. He's not having a big wild party.
If he wants to have a party, he can have it somewhere else.
Got it. Yes. Okay.
If there are people here making noise, I will call the cops.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Anne's like, okay. Poor Anne. In the talking head, Ariana said that she's not going to acquiesce to anything he wants. That he's making her life difficult, she's going to make his difficult as well. This is like War of the Roses, honestly. And to prove that, Ariana in the talking head said that Tom is doing weird things. She said, I'm going to say the first one last, because honestly, it's the weirdest. Number one, he opens her mail. That's actually illegal. If she wants to call the cops, she can say, this guy who I used to date, I'm not married to, is opening my mail. And I mean, I don't know where it'll go, but it'll keep him from ever opening her mail again. Because I think it's illegal to open somebody else's mail. I'm 99% sure. And especially because they're not legally married. Number two, he got this white noise sound machine that he put out in the hallway. So it's just like this, like 20 televisions all on static at the same time.
Is this some sort of like psychological warfare?
And then Tom said he did it because friends of hers and herself would overhear conversations he was having, obviously with Raquel, because who else is he talking to? And then running with it or telling Ariana that's not her. And so he put that white noise thing out there outside of his room so that nobody can hear what he's saying in the room. Kind of brilliant. Odd, but kind of brilliant. I get where it's coming from. But then the other thing he did is he took her dishes out and put them all on the hood of her car.
Why?
Now that's just weird bonkers. Crazy stuff. What? He also is obsessed with his penis flute and had to have sweet little Anne glue it back together. Ew, she had to touch that thing. So bizarre. He's an odd duck. Said it last week, say it again. He's an odd duck. We cut to Lisa Vanderpump, who is getting ready to go to Pump. She's getting her hair done, and it's going to be the last night that Pump is open because they're closing their doors. She goes on to explain that Ken is getting older. He wants to retire soon, and at this particular time, the rent was going up, and they wanted a 10-year lease, and she's like, 10 years, he'll be in his 80s. He can't keep going down to West Hollywood and hanging out at bars. And then she adds, and I'll be in my 40s, which I thought was a great line. I don't know how many people caught. That does make sense, though. And I say shame on the landlord for not just saying, okay, I'll give you a 5-year lease or a 3 to 5 year lease. I mean, that's 3 more years. They don't have to worry about finding somebody else in there and all the rent they're going to lose in the transition of one person going and the next person coming in. And I don't know.
Pure greed.
I mean, it's good real estate. Somebody will probably take it over. But, well, we'll see. Let me know down below if something's in the spot where Pump used to be. My guess is it's just vacant right now. And maybe somebody is renting it and remodeling it. When Lisa takes all the stuff out of there, though, all her stuff, I wonder if she rips that tree back out and takes it out as well. If I were her, I would. That was a cool tree out in the garden area back there. I would just take it and plant it in her backyard or give it to someone. Gift it to a shelter that needs shade for dogs and put it in the backyard. Anywho, at this point we cut back to Tom in his house and his friend, who's actually his band manager as well. All of Tom's friends now are employees of his, which is really kind of sad. But, I mean, it's okay. People are friends with their bosses, and it's not like he's buying all their friendships. He probably is truly friends with a lot of them too, but like that's all he has really is his payroll. They came over for his birthday later on, but we'll get to that later. All right, so his friend is there, and Tom is sharing how he's still so much in love with Raquel. He hasn't heard from her in a couple of weeks, and he's missing her terribly. I don't know why he hasn't heard from her in a couple of weeks. Maybe she's allowed to look at her phone but not respond. I don't know. I mean, he just got back the night before, according to the way it's edited on the show, from New Zealand. So I don't think, again, when you're out there doing the special forces things, not boot camp. I mentioned boot camp on the last episode because somebody mentioned boot camp. Boot camp would be way easier than special forces. Special forces, those military people that's a whole nother level. Boot camp is the basic that everybody goes through. And I don't know if anybody doesn't pass boot camp, because you're all there supporting and helping each other out to get through it. That's, I think, part of what you're learning as you're a team. So the weakest person gets carried by the stronger people. At any rate, Special Forces is different because it's supposed to be more the elite of the elite, and it's going to be harder, and it does not appear to be the kind of place where you would have your cell phone out there, out on the field. Now, I do think they do get them at night. I think I saw an interview with the girl who won once, and her saying that at night when they're back on their bunk beds that they might be able to get their phones. I might be wrong on that though. Don't quote me on that. At any rate, he hadn't heard from her in 2 weeks, but he doesn't seem fazed by it. He's just like, oh, I just miss her and I love her so much. I haven't heard from her in 2 weeks. She has her phone because we know that Lala sent her the voicemail message and then was looking at her phone and went, oh, she read it. So she saw Lala's message. She should have been able to see Tom's messages that he's been sending for the past 2 weeks.
Trouble in Paradise?
Odd. Maybe the beginning of the end. Ariana and Lala get together and, I don't know, they were having smoothies or something somewhere in Hollywood. Ariana is sharing about how Tom wanted to have this birthday party and how she didn't want it and all that. And Lala came right out and said, why can't he have a birthday party? It's his house too. So true. Lala is becoming more and more the voice of reason. And what I love most about it is that Lala doesn't like Tom Sandoval. So it's not like she's trying to defend a friend. She's just trying to look at it rationally, even though Ariana is her friend, even though they're not really close, but they're friendish. Lala asks Ariana, why don't you just move out of that house already? Just get out of there. And she's like, it's my house too. I'm paying for it as well. And she's like, I'll leave as soon as we sell it, but we can't sell it because he doesn't want to sell it. He wants to buy her out, but she won't let him buy her out. And I'm like, listen, Ariana, put the price so high that includes the pain and inconvenience of having to leave. Make the price include all the furniture, add that into it too. Make him pay through his teeth and just go. Yes, you'll have to be the one to move, but get a better house. I mean, her lawyer's going to have to look at what she's put into it, what's fair, and then you don't do what's fair in the end. You bump it up significantly higher and say, we either sell the house, put it on the market, or this is what you can pay me to buy me out. Lala asks how things are going with Dan, and Ariana says good. And I found this the most interesting, and this makes me change my mind a little bit about the video that I did on episode 1. She says to Ariana, has he changed your mind at all in terms of the future and maybe having a family and whatnot? And Ariana said, yes.
She did? She did?
And I get it. She said, this is the first time in her life that she's looked at somebody and said, oh, you being a father and us parenting together, wow, that would look so very different than if I was doing it with Tom Sandoval. So her lens of having children and raising children was distorted because she saw it as something she had to partner with Tom Sandoval and do. And it seemed like it would be a nightmare, and it probably would have been. And the smartest thing she ever did was not get pregnant with Tom Sandoval. So here she is now 38 and he's 40. Both of them never married. Both of them no kids. I'm kind of shipping this now. I can't believe I said that word. My kid said that like a decade ago. I'm so sorry. But way more than last week, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is going to be a perfect situation. I think what would be great is if she actually married him and then she got pregnant and had kids with him. Because those are two things that Tom Sandoval wanted so much that she wouldn't do. Talk about sticking it to him. That would be the ultimate. So we get to the event in the evening at Pump. Ariana, Katie, Lala, and Scheana are all there. They all look amazing. Great outfits. Fantastic. Lisa Vanderpump takes Schwartz aside, who was bartending for a while, which is funny because if you watched seasons and seasons and seasons ago, he tried to bartend and didn't even make it through one shift and had to quit. Like his anxiety was too high and it was just too much to remember and to do. And he just walked out. Poor Katie. I think she married him after that because I think it was pretty early on, if I recall. At any rate, he was bartending and then came over and talked to Lisa, and she was asking him about Schwartz and Sandy's, and he was saying what an absolute mess the whole thing is. Schwartz said, in fact, that he and the partners asked Sandoval to step away for a little bit because it was just, his presence was not helping the business, it was hurting it. So they asked him to kind of step aside. In fact, the partners went to the extreme of saying, if Tom even shows up here, we're going to shut the doors down. That's going to be the end of this. He's not welcome here. All right. Schwartz explained at this point that after he was told that, he completely checked out. He didn't talk to anybody. He didn't show up. He didn't do anything. And Schwartz interpreted it as like, don't show your face here because people hate you. You're not helping us. But from afar, you can still do things to help out. Help us troubleshoot. Help us problem solve. Help us figure out how to fix the Yelp reviews. Help us hire a PR agent. Something, like do something. And he did nothing. He just cut ties, walked away, didn't talk to anybody there. And that hurt Schwartz because he was picking up all the pieces and trying to get this bar to be successful, essentially by himself with his partners. But he was the face of it because it's Schwartz and Sandy's. Lisa's advice to Schwartz was, go talk to him. Don't make any rational moves or anything with the bar until you talk to Sandoval. Schwartz says to her, yes, I need to do some thinking and some soul searching. Which is true, but I mean, it's been many, many months and he's been kind of by himself and his wife left him and his best friend is gone. He had a lot of time to do soul searching. It seems like Schwartz always knows what to say in terms of what he should be doing. He just doesn't do it.
Bingo.
Or he's always had somebody telling him what he should do. Katie, Sandoval, kind of guiding his way. We cut to Scheana in the studio remixing her Good as Gold song for emo night, which I think is really bizarre, but apparently it's a thing. Brock is like, she's so great. This is where she belongs. She's in the studio. This is great. And then they show her adding some stuff to her song. It's just talking. She's not singing.
Come on, you're riding shoddy. Stop waiting for a sign. Come close and touch my body. Let's have us a good time!
Hey, yeah, now you know what it's like for me.
But what I love the most about Scheana is that she is aware of this. She's more aware than Brock. She says, I can't sing. When I put out the one song that was really singing, because Good as Gold is really kind of like sing-songy talking. She actually did a song that she sang on and got reamed for it. Like it was terrible, horrible review. So she said, you know what? I'm not a singer. I'm going to stay in my lane. But I am going to remix Good as Gold. So, okay.
In 2019, after the amount of negativity I got from my last song and music video, I just threw in the towel. I was like, you're not the best singer. Don't do music anymore. Let's move on.
Listen, if she can make money off of it, go for it, girl. I'm not going to deny you your dollar. And then Scheana starts to share about her postpartum, and I thought this was amazing. There's actually 2 segments on this show where she talks about this, and it was so incredibly relatable and information that, I mean, I've watched a couple episodes of Shenanigans, but I'm not a faithful follower by any stretch of the imagination. I can count on one hand how many I've watched, and they were really kind of like all around Sandoval during that time last year. She shares that her postpartum OCD has taken over and she becomes obsessed with her worst fears. Except that her baby celebrated her 2nd birthday last summer. Summer had her birthday during the summer. Last summer. So like right now she'd be about 2.5. So So she had to be at least 2. So postpartum doesn't last for 2 years. I think maybe it triggered it, but I mean, if her OCD was triggered by postpartum, it's now just OCD. I don't think you can call it postpartum OCD anymore. And so I don't know if that should be treated differently. I don't know. That was the only concern I had about her calling it that. And I might be wrong. If you're a psychologist out there that says, no, postpartum can last for 5 years. I don't know. I'm somebody that experienced postpartum depression, so I can relate to that. But, after a few months, it was gone. But Scheana is being very vulnerable, whatever it's called, and sharing about this. She said that it took her an entire year after her baby was born before she trusted herself to be alone with her, because she always wanted to make sure. I don't think that meant that she would hurt her by any means. It was because her fears were so great that something would happen to her that she wanted backup at all times. Somebody that she could scream and yell to if something looked like it was wrong. That's intense. Oh, my heart broke when she was talking about that. For a whole year, to be traumatized and always feel like I always have to be with my baby and somebody else always has to be here too, because I am living in this ultimate fear that something's going to go wrong with her. So nobody in her over 2 years of life, well, I mean, I guess this is normally filmed in the summer, so maybe she's around 2 now. But at this point, nobody has ever watched her who wasn't an immediate family member of hers that she trusted, which I'm guessing would just mean her sister and her mother. And I think that they probably didn't watch her very often, that Scheana always wanted to be there, which is okay. And she has the luxury of doing that, given her lifestyle and how she brings her income in. She can work it around when Brock's able to watch her, and she doesn't have to leave and punch in at a 40-hour-a-week job like as a school teacher or nurse or something like that. So she has the ability to be with her as much as possible. And I do not besmirch anyone who wants to spend as much time with their kids as possible. In this day and age where people are over their kids and nannies are doing all the raising of them, I thought that was beautiful and wonderful. But this is taken to a pathological level. And I've never heard this from anybody before. I've never heard of it at this level or anyone talk about this. So I found it just fascinating. I know she's going to be helping people out there who are experiencing the same thing, or who in the future will, and they'll be able to identify it and realize that they're not alone and that Scheana had gone through the same thing. I think it's great that she's sharing this. We cut to Schwartz and Sandoval meeting at a bar. Sandoval is not drinking, which I think is fantastic because he's drinking all the time. He has a non-alcoholic beer. He gives the shoes to Schwartz. Schwartz is giddy. Oh, my favorite shoes. Schwartz says it's great that Sandoval's not drinking. It's got to be great for his overall mental health. And I'm thinking it's wonderful too. I'm so proud of him for making that decision to better his life. But then in his talking head, he's not doing it for himself. He said he made the decision because Raquel went into rehab. And when she's in rehab, she can't drink. And so it's like a bonding thing that the two of them have away from each other, where neither of them are able to take a drink, or it's a sacrifice he's going to make. He even said, I'm just doing this until she gets out and then we'll start drinking together again. It's just...
Oh, dude, my favorite running shoes. The last thing I was going to do is be drinking and going out while she was there. I figured we could do it together when she got out.
I mean, I'm glad he's able to go 50 days without a drink, if indeed he's gone this whole time without a drink. I don't know. Maybe he's just not drinking socially. Maybe he has something, who knows, really. But he's saying he's not drinking. Okay, we'll take it at face value. But he's not doing it for himself. He's doing it for her. He needs to learn to heal himself, to do things to make him a better person. I don't know if narcissists can heal from being narcissists, though. He might need a lot of therapy on top of eliminating the alcohol. Not that I know that he's a narcissist, but boy, he sure seems like one, doesn't he? He's excited when she comes out because he can drink with her again, and he can do his chocolate mushrooms with her that he did before. And he reiterates again about Ariana wouldn't do. He kept saying she wasn't adventurous with me, but everything he really kind of goes back to is she won't do mushrooms with me. That's his idea of adventure. He's like, she just wanted to walk around the block as things together, and I want to get high with her. She's become so boring. I'm like, no, she's grown up. You haven't. I like how you're trying to reframe it there, but it's not working. We're on to you. Schwartz asks Tom how the Special Forces training thing went. And he says this.
How was your trip?
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
They ran us so hard.
Did you cry?
Yeah.
Oh, Katie will be so happy. And then Tom starts talking about his money. Boy, we have always seen how he cannot manage his money and how he just blows it all the time. He gave something like 15 grand to James to propose to Raquel, of all people. Maybe he had a silent crush on her then and he wanted her to be impressed that he paid for half of it. I've written down, there's no way that Tom can manage his money. There's no way his band can really. He had to go on the road to make money, but how can that band? He has a 10-piece orchestra type band. He has to pay for all those people and all their travel and all their hotel rooms. And we saw they were not getting sold out, and you could get tickets for $5 right beforehand at the door. So I just don't see how he was even covering his expenses. So I think it was an excuse that he had to keep touring. I think that just fed his ego. There's no way that could have made money. He said that his accounts were overdrawn, which is why he had to go and continue to tour because he just had no money. His accounts were all overdrawn. How can they be overdrawn? I know the people on that show make between 10 to 25 grand an episode. He's in like every episode. There are between 18 to 25 episodes a season. So he makes about $500,000 a year.
Say what?
And his bank accounts are overdrawn? What? Talk about blowing through money. Sorry, I can't sympathize with him. Everybody in the Midwest cannot relate. Or even everybody in California that just have normal jobs. Okay, so I'm thinking now that he's contradicting himself because he said Ariana hasn't paid a bill in 8 months. So I'm thinking, why does Ariana have to pay all the bills? But then he goes on to say, I have to do all the paying. And I wrote here, why is he contradicting himself? He claims that Ariana hasn't paid any bills in 8 months, so she's not taking care of the place. But yet, he's the one that has to do everything. Last season, he said he even has to replace all the batteries in the drawer, and he was all worked up about that. So why is he relying on Ariana to pay all the bills? He said that he pays everything. The mortgage, the gardener, the cleaning lady, the utilities, everything, he said. And then he says she won't pay him back. So then I was confused. But in the after, I understood it. So let me just step aside here for a second. The amount of grass that they have at this house is so minuscule. And the fact that he is a gardener, that they're spending money on that, especially when his bank account is overdrawn, get rid of the gardener. Unbelievable. And a cleaning lady too, again, something you're very capable of doing yourself. Just clean up after yourself. I mean, maybe he can pay his assistant during her work hours to clean up a little bit. I don't know. But for somebody whose accounts are overdrawn, this is money he doesn't need to be spending. Or buying expensive running shoes for people just to be their friend. I mean, anywho. In the after show, Ariana explains for 8 months she hasn't paid him any money because she said she doesn't trust these random amounts of money he's saying to give her because he did always pay the bills. And so she would pay for half. But they had a joint account for a long time that they would both equally put the same amount in. And then these things that are joint things, gardener, house cleaner, mortgage, would come out of that account. And if that account went down, they would both contribute again more money to it. They both put in another $5,000 or something so that there would be enough money in there to pay out all these bills. Well, she stopped contributing to it because the money would go down and then she'd have to keep putting in, but she never really saw anything. She never saw any bills. This is her fault. As a woman, you should be on top of all this stuff. You should know exactly where your money's going. That would have driven me nuts too, to not know, for somebody to just say, oh no, you just owe more money. Oh no, you know what? The account's getting low. Jenny, give us another $5,000 in that account so we can bump it back up. I'm like, why? Why? What went up? The money went down in that account. That doesn't make any sense to me. We have these set bills that we pay every month. Why do we need to put extra money in there? You know? But she would just contribute to it. Well, she's not now, obviously. But she's like, I will pay bills if you give me bills to show. I need to see documentation of what this money's for. And he hasn't provided it to her, so she hasn't paid anything. So this is why his bank account is going down, because she won't pay anything. Both of them, so stubborn. All he has to do is have his assistant pull together the bill. Just get them. You can go online. Whatever your mortgage company is, that's probably the name, .com. And log into your account and you can print out how much your mortgage is every month so she can see, at least if nothing else, this is our mortgage every month, here's the bill. I need you to pay for half of this. You can do the same thing with the electricity bill. It's not that hard. I don't know why he's making it so hard. Maybe he's trying to set her up to make her look bad during the divorce. I don't know. Then again, it's a joint mortgage. Ariana should be able to go on there too and look it up, and she should be able to say, oh, I see what the mortgage is for this month. Here's the money for half of it. When you show me the rest of the bills, because the mortgage has to be the largest one. When you show me bills for the rest of the stuff, I'll pay it. So that's wrong on Ariana's part. She should be paying for at least half the mortgage while she's in there. Tom and Tom now are sitting at the table and they start to get into a little bit of a banter regarding the fact that Schwartz went on Jax and Brittany's podcast and he said that, you know, Tom is off doing his own thing. And Schwartz is like, well, you were off doing your own thing. He's like, well, that's not really how it was. And they started getting into an argument and Schwartz stops Sandoval in his tracks. And as Sandoval's trying to like justify and make up excuses and all that, Schwartz says, Tom, just take it.
Don't do this backhanded shit where you're like,
Tom.
listen to me.
Just take it.
It's,
That's
dude,
all you should be saying is, I'm sorry. That's all you need to say. I'm sorry your feelings are hurt, but dude.
Something Tom can't do. He doesn't like constructive criticism, any criticism, and he doesn't ever want to be told he's wrong, which is a sign of a narcissist, but he's never wrong. And so Schwartz is like, just take it. Stop this coming back and defending yourself all the time. Sandoval gets quiet, and it ends with a surprising comment from Schwartz.
Are you gonna stick with me or what?
I feel like I'm gonna do what's best for me.
Which shows that he's not going to be Sandoval's lapdog anymore. We cut to Scheana talking more about her OCD. I find it so interesting. Her friend Tori, who she's known for many, many years, was going to come over and watch her that evening. But Scheana's mom was going to be there too. Tori really wasn't going to watch her by herself. Scheana's mom was going to be there. It's just that Scheana's mom has a torn rotator cuff and she can't lift her up and over into the crib to get her in and out. Other than that, Scheana's mom is basically watching her. Tori is just there to be the physical manifestation of getting her from one place to another. So, I mean, but it's a baby step. I mean, and if for Scheana this is a huge step, then great. Maybe she never lets anyone touch Summer Moon either. It's possible. I don't know. So the conversation they're having is so good and so informative and so insightful. And at one point, Brock is talking to Tori and trying to explain how it's great that she's here and that it's helping Scheana move on so she's not so like restricted by her OCD and that. And Scheana like fights back right away. That's not it. And then you could see she's getting emotional and starting to get teary-eyed. And Brock's like, whoa, what'd I say? Like, he's just speaking the truth. And at this moment, I completely got her. Because when I was in the throes of postpartum depression, if somebody said to me, oh, you look like you're depressed, are you taking something in that? I was so offended. I could not stand outside of myself, even though I knew I was in it, even though I knew I was crying every day, even though I knew I wasn't myself. The last thing I wanted was somebody from the outside looking in and telling me, you don't look like you have it all together. So I completely related. I can see where I'm standing in my living room when I had a friend talk to me about it. I'm fine. What are you talking about? And that's exactly what was happening right here. And she got very defensive. Brock is like, I don't understand. He wasn't in the wrong at all. He was speaking the truth the entire time. It was just hard for her to hear at this moment. And this is the first time she's put this out on this show to millions. So she probably also doesn't, she might interpret it as people might think I'm crazy. I don't want that to happen. And you know what? Somebody will, because there's idiots out there. But anyway, it was good. It was good. It was good. If you haven't seen the episode, go watch that section, because I thought it was good television for a show that's usually a lot of fluff. Schwartz goes over to James and Allie's house, and he brings another plant for James. I just hope Schwartz is taking these out of his apartment so he can kind of weed through the, 2,000 plants that he has all over the place, making it kind of feel like a jungle. Maybe that's why it feels claustrophobic to me. I love plants, love me some greenery, but he's got it at a whole nother level. Schwartz admits that it was a little bittersweet watching James and Allie so excited and sharing all about their new home and giving them the tour and all that he had his home once too, and now he doesn't, and it hurts. And he doesn't know if he'll ever be a homeowner again, which is true. I mean, if the bar flops and he still stays out in LA, he might be a renter for a while. It's hard to get ahead in that city. And Allie, who is starting her own astrology business, okay. To each their own. Great hobby, but I think she was doing it as a career. She reads Schwartz's chart. And what is the one thing that if we don't look at his chart, if we don't, like, just from watching a couple seasons of, not even knowing him, just watching him on TV, what do we know about Schwartz? He's a people pleaser. He can't say no to anybody. It's what really led to his divorce, for crying out loud. He can never say no to Sandoval. He's always concerned about what other people think about him. And so he's a yes man through and through and through. And she read his chart and said that, I can't remember the exact moons or whatever, but basically it says that he's a very big people pleaser.
No duh.
I hope she didn't charge him for that. I mean, come on. All right, let's go on. We cut back to Sandoval and Ariana's house. Sandoval is getting ready for the party, which Ariana acquiesced to. She said that it's fine that he has a party if it's only about 12 people, and he said that they would all be gone by midnight. And she was like, okay, I can do that. Fine. She wasn't even home. She was at that emo night thing. So he had Anne put some balloons up, and she had kind of like one of those arches above the window. And he goes, oh, I really like the balloons. And she goes, oh, thank you. And he goes, it kind of looks like a baby shower. And they were all pastel. And she's like, oh. And he goes, I really dig it. I like it. I think that's true. He's so bizarre. He's so weird. He probably thought, yeah, baby shower vibe. That's cool. He points out to his friend that this is the first birthday where he's not drinking. But he has chocolate mushrooms there. I don't know if Sandoval realizes that part of the point of not drinking is to allow your system to not be addicted to something, to learn how to cope and to find healthy mechanisms. Running, jogging, meditating, yoga, reading. I mean, just something. Walks, volunteering at a dog shelter, like something to fill up your time so that during that time when you normally would be drinking, you're doing something else that's good for you and that feeds your soul. So I'm not so impressed anymore. I guess California sober, just like James. Getting high all day. Woo, you're not drinking. Who cares? I'm not impressed. I thought he went sober. He's not sober. He's just not drinking. James and Allie pull up kind of into the apron of the driveway. Allie says she's not going in. I thought this was very mature of her. She said she's not going in because she never really was a friend of Sandoval's and she likes Ariana. So there's no reason to go in and to what? Try to develop a friendship now with him? Why would she do that? So she's like, I'll just sit here in the car and you go ahead and go in. I thought that was very mature of her. I was shocked that their house is on a corner of a fairly busy street. Seeing how fast all the cars were going by, a couple lane roads on the one side, and they're the first house on the side street off of it. So I'm like, not a great location. I don't know why, but I pictured them more suburban, like these cute houses amongst like really nice, safe, cute suburban neighborhoods. Shockingly, actually, when they had the clip of Allie and James going for a walk, that looked adorable there. The little walking paths they had between the streets. I'm like,
a walk, like honestly, you can't find this like on the other side of the hill. Perfect for a doggy.
Yeah.
Oh, what? I'm so excited. I really want one, honestly. Harry can come watch her whenever.
Yeah. I'm not like against it, but we just have to make sure we're really ready.
Yeah.
That actually looked like a cute area, but that's by the airport. And like, what's by the airport that like, what? Is it Inglewood? I know they're trying to redevelop Inglewood, but it's kind of not a safe place near the airport. So I'm really curious exactly what city they're in. And maybe they're not really by the airport, but they're in flight path. So they're a ways away in a nicer area, but hearing all the airplanes. So I guess it'd still be considered by the airport. I actually imagine them closer to the airport than I think they actually are. But their area looked cute. And, you know, I don't want to say that his area isn't cute either. It's just that, yeah, they're right on the corner and you see all the cars zooming by the other way. It's not what I expected. That's all. James had a great one-liner. He walked in and in the talking head, he said,
Tom's party is like a who's who. Like, who the are you people? Tom.
And they weren't just random people. They were all in Tom's band. Obviously, he doesn't know all the band members or the, stage manager or his overall band manager or the booking manager, whatever. All those people were there. And then there were some servers from Tom Tom as well, which apparently James didn't know because one of them came up to him and was talking to him. He's like, hey, dude, like, what are we going to do about our friend group? Because, like, Katie won't talk to me anymore. And he's like, yeah. And he completely dismissed him, which was so rude. And I hated James for this. It reminded me of the old James. He gets caught up in his emotions and he just kind of acts like a jerk. So this poor guy who was being sincere and talking to him, he just dismissed. And he's like, I'm just here to talk to Tom. What was the guy's name? Was Brett, I think? Yeah, his name was Brett. I was going to say that sounds familiar, like he'd been on the show before. But there was that other Brett that used to be on that got kicked off because he did something wrong. We did see Billy there, and apparently, according to Ariana, Billy practically lives at their house. So we haven't seen that yet, but maybe as the season goes on, we'll see Billy there all the time. Billy was on one season. I did not like her at all. At all. And I was so glad when she didn't come back the next season. I don't think by her choosing. I think that she wasn't really liked by any of the viewers, so... But Billy was there. I'm also wondering if James is just being a dick too, because how is it that this is a Tom Tom server? And of course, James is at Tom Tom a lot, DJing, so he would know a lot of the bartenders that were there and servers. And this guy specifically came up to him and said, whoa, like Katie's not talking to me anymore. What are we going to do about our friend group? So he obviously was part of the friend group. Even in the talking head interview, James is like, who is this guy? So is he that egocentric that he's not aware of the other people in the surroundings? Does he think he's the king of the bar as the DJ and that the servers and the bartenders are peons? Like, it really bothered me that he didn't know who the guy was or he was pretending that he didn't know who the guy was. Either way, didn't like this interaction with James at all. James takes Tom aside and said, hey, can we talk? And Tom said, yeah, let me just go get a drink. So that's when this whole interaction is happening, and we see that Tom went and got a drink or something, but he's now standing and talking to groups of people, explaining how his knees are all beat up, probably from the Special Force thing, and they're having these full-on conversations, and James is just, like, beside himself. And so finally, this Brett guy is like, oh, I'll go get Tom for you. Nice guy. So he went and got Tom. Tom's like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Where do you want to have this conversation? Conversation didn't go that well. James went into it with a chip on his shoulder, and unless Tom said, I am sorry for betraying you, I am sorry for everything I said to you, I'm sorry for how I behaved, I'm sorry for not responding, unless he would have said I'm sorry for absolutely everything, James was ready to pick a fight and leave, and that's what happened. Tom started off by saying, I'm so sorry I wasn't in contact with you, I'm sorry I didn't reach out when I got back, I should have, it was wrong of me. And then he goes, are you sorry for betraying me? And he's like, betraying you? And this becomes the tit and tat of... oh, okay, James was upset, or Tom, I take it back, Tom, like a decade ago, was upset with James because James slept with his ex-girlfriend. Now, it was an ex-girlfriend of only like a couple weeks, and I think they may have even got back together after that at one point. I don't know. That was a long time ago. It was still when they were in that tiny little apartment that was kind of like half underground. Do you remember that? Anyway. Tom was very upset about that, whereas he thought this Raquel thing was the same thing. In fact, James had actually moved on from Raquel, found another girlfriend that he loves even more, and is with her, so why would he be upset with him getting together with Raquel? I can't argue with that logic. I really can't. But James got it stuck in his craw that he needs an apology for Tom dating his ex-girlfriend. He sees that as a betrayal. I can't remember, it was so many seasons ago, if James ever gave Tom an apology for betraying him. I don't know if that ever happened or not. It would be interesting for somebody to go back and look it up. I don't have enough time. But he never pointed out, I apologized to you for that. Why can't you apologize? So it seems like he may have never apologized. So it kind of is the same thing. I mean... hate to be on Tom's side on this.
Ew.
But James is kind of acting like the old James, the not so likable James. I like the fun-loving, funny James. He's not at the party this evening. James gets up. He's so upset. He's like, you still have a lot of growing up to do. We're not going to talk about what happened 10 years ago. And Tom says, you want me to take accountability, but you won't. Which, now that I read that, makes me think he never did apologize, take accountability, or apologize for betraying him. And James doesn't care. He's just like, that was a decade ago. This shouldn't matter. No, still matters. We can still apologize for things we did wrong a decade ago to people. Absolutely. You can apologize for things that you did wrong to people 2 decades ago. So James is wrong. James follows up with, I'm not even going to entertain what you just said. And then Tom says, well, that's a narcissistic thing for you to say. Spoken from one narcissist to another. I guess it takes one to know one.
This is the dumbest conversation I've ever heard.
This is a stalemate. It's not going to go anywhere because they're both immature. Tom is so egocentric and narcissistic that even as 90% of his friends are gone in his life, that the one who's willing to just show up to his birthday party for a short period of time, he can't give him what he wants, which is an apology. He can't even fake it and say, yeah, I apologize for betraying you. That was wrong. Just to get by, just to get past this, even if he doesn't believe it in his heart, just to move on. He can't do it. Neither one can see the other person's side. And this is how the episode ends.
That sucks.
Wah, wah, wah. Not so happy. All right, I'll be back with episode 3 next week.
Pretty please.
Goodbye.